Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Today we will be focused on surety basics. This webinar is scheduled for about 45 minutes, give or take a few minutes. My name is John Ellick. I will be your presenter today. My email is on the screen. If you have any questions, we won't take questions during the webinar. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email them to me or give us a call with any questions you have. Today's is surety basics, so we won't go into very detail on individual features. We're just going to scan through most of the general features, make sure you have an understanding of those features. Again, if you want more information on those, you can, of course, contact us here at AgriData. Be happy to help, or at the end of the webinar, I'll show you a couple areas where you can access more specific help for these individual features. So with that, let's begin. I will be working today in the Surety program. If you're running Surety Pro, same things pretty much mean the same thing for you. We won't go through the save boundary or edit boundaries. If you want some information on that, we can help you out with that, but give us contact, calling us. So with that, let's begin. First of all, we'll talk about the individual parts of the Surety program briefly. Then we break it up into what I call 5 different areas, panels. First of all, you have the left panel in green, and these are your navigation tools, your selection tools, your drawing tools. Up above the map area, you'll see our menus. To the right, we have another panel, and we have several panes within this panel. The top one in Surety just shows you mapping steps. In Surety Pro, we'll have your client farm field ID, location information that you can choose from. Next, we have our pane, which includes the forms and maps that you can create. Next, below that, we have our layers and search panel. And if you have Surety Pro and you have Parcel Data, you also have the Parcel Search panel here also. So this is your layers and search. Also, while you're drawing, and maybe some of you know, this is also your help window also appears in this area. And of course, you got the mapping area in the center of the screen. One other note, over to the lower left, you have your direction compass, but then you have your lat long location, and that location is based on your mouse pointer. So the closer you zoom in, you'll get a little more accurate on that. That's your lat long indicator. Okay, next we'll look at the navigation tools. First tool is the zoom in tool. This has several functions within it. First of all, you can just click on the map and it'll zoom in a set scale. You keep clicking, it'll keep zooming in. You can also do a bounding box to zoom to. So what you would do is you left click and drag a box across the screen. It will zoom to the furthest extent of that box. Also, you could set a set size or radius to your map. You do that by putting your mouse in the center of the area of interest, right-clicking, and then enter a number on your keyboard. In this case, I'm going to enter 4 and then hit return or enter. And it will set then that scale on your map to that radius. If you have a mouse with a zoom wheel or a mouse with a scroll wheel, you can have that set to zoom in and out using that scroll wheel. The next one, or again, or if you have a trackpad, you can use that however your trackpad works. You'll find out you can zoom in and out that way. Next, we're going to look at the zoom out. The zoom out has basically one function. When you click zoom out, it zooms out a set scale. Pan allows you to move the map in any direction without changing scale. So when you click pan, come in, you see the cursor is changed. Now what you'll do is left click and hold, and now you can drag the map in any direction you want. When you let go, it redraws. And you also can pan while drawing, which we'll show you later, which is convenient to help you take advantage of the resolution of the background images when drawing boundaries. Next, we'll look at full view and previous view. Previous view is just a history. So as you click previous view, it just goes back to all the views they went through in order. And it'll save those for your session, and you can walk through those. So sometimes you may search an area and you want to look at that, or you got two properties you want to go back and forth to. You could use the previous view to do that. Full view. Full view has several capabilities. First time you log into the Surety Pro program, your full view is set to this. It's the map of the US. You can set your full view, which also can be accessed here with the full view feature. You can set that tool so that you can just zoom to the area that you work in instead of coming to, let's say, the country and then have zoom in. So if I work primarily in Missouri, for example, I can come in and I can set my view. Okay, and that view can be whatever scale you want it. It could be a county, it could be a state, it could be whatever you want. You set that on the screen. Now I can come up to Tools and Options page. Now the first option allows you to set that full view. It'll say set the current view on the map as the startup view, which is also your full view within Surety. And so now I can come in and I can just click on that. It'll say a startup view has been set. Now this is the only option on this page where you do not have to hit save. It'll automatically set that. So when I come back now and I'm zoomed, doesn't matter where I'm zoomed to, now when I hit full view, it's going to zoom to that. And when you log in, this is the first thing you see. If you're using Surety Pro, this also is the case unless you select a client, then it will zoom to the extent of that client under the full view. Let's go back up to this options page up top that we looked at before under tools. Now remember, these are file options. There's lots of information available depending on if you're an administrator or just a user have a subscription under another admin. You can edit your profiles. You can import and export here. Under tools, we have options. We have the options page, which you saw. You can manage your logo. You can add logos to your forms and maps if you wish. Soil report options and soil color options. Under help, this is where we're going to find a lot of information to help you. Support documentation, which we'll look at the end of the webinar, allows you to see much more detailed information, step-by-step information on individual features. We got our how-to videos to work with also. If you are an admin, this is where you have admin. Under Subscription Studio, it gives you capability to manage your subscription or subscriptions. Updates is something new. Updates is something we added, and it basically what it is. It gives you updates to the Surety Pro program if it's possibly a bug that was fixed or some new features. Those are listed right here. And then we got links to the support documentation to help you with information on those individual features. So let's go back in up to the options page and look at that. Several things to note here. So we set the current view. One thing we want to, in the printing options, and this sometimes is not known, if you have your printing options or your basically what it's also how your form is created or your map is created. If you have that build to PDF, it will generate a PDF immediately. Okay. Well, the only problem with that is you will miss out on some of the menus on the forms and maps, which we'll look at a little later on. My recommendation is to go in and make sure this is set to print maps from a web page and hit save when you do that. Yes, it won't go right to PDF, but within that, it's a one click and you can create your PDF. But then you have access to the other menus that are on the maps and forms, which you might find useful. Here again, you also saw where you could manage your logo. You can click here to add your logo to the forms or manage your logo. Latitude, longitude display. If you remember in the lower left, we saw where the longitude is displayed. Currently, I have it set to decimal seconds, as you can see right here. Well, you can change that. You can set it to decimal minutes, or you can set it to decimal degrees. Again, hit save when you're done with this. Make sure this is always checked here. Maintain, select, and drawn field. Just go in and make sure this is checked and leave it checked. Here you can access your soil report options, but you can also do that under the options page. Okay, I'm just going to hit save here because I changed my decimal degrees. It'll say I've been saved, then you can cancel out. Also, just remember also on options up here, we have the ability to work on your soil report. We won't get into detail on that, but you can play around with that. So as you notice now in the lower left, I changed my decimal my lat long setting to decimal degrees, and now I display in decimal degrees. Okay, now we're going to move over to search tools, or ability to find locations based on information that you may have. We have several search tools. Now, if you search tools are located on the left lower right side under the search tab. So if you click the search tab, we'll bring up a set of 5 additional tabs. The first one is our legal description. This is the public land survey. Now, not all states have the public land survey, such as, for example, original 13 colonies, parts of Kentucky and Tennessee, and Texas. But if you do have the public land survey, or if that's how your land is described and you have that information, you can zoom to those areas here. So first thing you would do is pick the state that you want to work in. Next, type in your section. In this case, I'm going to work in section 9. Next, type in your township. You can do that easily. Make sure you pick your direction, north or south, very important. Some states have more than one township, one range 1. In fact, for example, in Illinois, I believe there are 4 township 1s, range 1s. So if you do not put in the direction, you could end up in the wrong township with the wrong section. So make sure you enter that information in. And then once you have it in, just hit locate. And I'll take you to that township. The next is Lat Long Search. So now you can type in Lat Long. Now you can type latitude and longitude in any of the three formats, decimal seconds, decimal minutes, decimal degrees. You just have to make sure that the latitude and longitude number you enter in are in a similar format. For in this case, I have a decimal second entry. Once I've typed those in, if you do decimal minutes and decimal seconds, make sure to keep your spaces. Or you could type it in as you see over here on the left, just decimal degrees. I haven't put a negative in longitude for those that are purist in mapping. You should have a negative there, but since we only work in North America, we don't require it. It's assuming that you're working in you're looking in the Western Hemisphere. You can place a symbol at the center when you zoom to that lat long, if you wish. And once you type it in, you just hit locate and it's going to zoom to that latitude, longitude. And here's the representative. We represented in decimal degrees over here. Next, for those areas that have township names, okay? What you do is you come in, the first thing you do is you pick your state, and then you're going to type in your township name. As you start to type, with many of our fill-in menus, if there's a list, we'll start to fill in those lists after a few letters. I'm going to pick Brant here. Okay, now you can locate that township by just typing in the name, or you can also add a section and then locate that section within there. Next is the address. Again, you have to pick your state. It allows you to zoom to your state from here. You can type in a city and zoom to that city. You can also enter a physical address. So you could type in a house number or a building number and then the street address. And as you type these in, and then you can zoom to that street. Or you can type in everything here. If you zoom to that street, what it's going to do is zoom to the length of that street, what it finds. So if you type in a certain name or a certain street number, it's going to zoom to the extent of that full street. If you want the physical address, you need to have all this filled in and then hit locate. You can also zoom to a county within the state you have selected up here. And then, of course, in Texas, you have the Texas Land Survey, which you can enter a county, a block, a section, and locate from there. You can also zoom to a county within that Texas search. So those are the search tools. Next, we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about the Layers tab. I'm finding that a lot of people are not looking at this tab as they should, because this tab contains everything that can be displayed on the map. It allows you to turn these things off and on. It, in some cases, allows you to look at some of the properties of that layer and change properties such as labels, things of that nature. So we're going to quickly go through the layers. So the first one we're familiar with is when you first come in, that's the first one is checked. That's your FSA boundaries. Let me move to a state where we got some FSA boundaries. Just zoom out here. Let's go to my full view here. That's right, we have it set to Missouri here. So let's just zoom in somewhere south of Kansas City here. Let's go a little further south. So there's your FSA boundaries that you've seen before in yellow. We also can display things such as crop history. In the drop-down year, we don't have 2020 yet available, so we'll go back to 2019. And so you can see a crop history. You can see some coloring in here, depending on your crops, it's going to color it. We've run into this sometimes you log in, somehow the crop history was turned on, or maybe another user was using it, turn it on. You see this map. first thing to do is, there's nothing wrong with your screen, check to make sure your crop history is turned on or off, and that could cause that blurriness. For those that have parcel data, have purchased parcel data, you can turn that parcel data on here, and then you can also control the labels depending on what you have in the parcel data. And then you would include any forms that you have saved, especially in the Surety Pro. If you've saved any forms such as chemical or aerial or fertilizing, you can save those forms here. And they would show up as a layer that you can turn on. Also, there's two other features for you that, first of all, in aerial applicators, we have the FAA obstructions, which you can turn on here. I don't think I have any shown here, but they would show up. You can color code those points and show your FAA obstructions. Also, Drift Watch, if you are a member of Drift Watch or Field Watch or Bee Watch, we do have those county, those states in here with the information. So once you've signed up for that, we can open access on the Surety or Surety Pro program, and so you'll see those fields show up under the Drift Watch layer. We also have some other layers, some that are newer. One is the contour topo lines. So you can place topo lines on your map. And those are set, you set your interval based on your scale. So when you open up, you'll see a scale. So this is current scale of this map is 6,225. If you look up here, it's at the 5-foot contours, and you can change these. We also have topography hill shade, which gives you a kind of a three-dimensional effect, and you can see topography. In this case, if we look at these are going to be high, whites are going to be, pinks are going to be a high, and the blues, darker blues, are going to be your lows. And then with the topo lines on top, which you can turn off or on, it'll help you see topography in that area. We also have our maximum DVI, our vegetation. So here's 2020. You can see those, and you can also add what we call hill shading, and it kind of gives you a three-dimensional effect. So you can see if the vegetation is on a hill or in a low area, and so on and so forth. Next is another important one. That's our background images. We call them Ortho Photos. They're FSA photos primarily. You can go and change to other years depending on your state. There's going to be different years available, and the frequency of update may change based on that. So you can go back as far back as we have dates. Make sure if you choose a date, it'll stick with that date even if you log out. So the next time you log in, that's the date it will be set to. So make sure if you want the most current, always go back up and select 2020, or check that before you do your mapping. You can also add hill shading to this, and it kind of gives a three-dimensional effect to this. And you can change the properties, hill shade. So if you don't want it as dramatic, you can also change some of these features, and that'll help reduce some of the hill shading. Next, we'll move down to other. Most of you, when you log in, this is what you're going to see. Or if you have to scroll down a little bit, if you got a lot of other layers listed here, such as forms, other will be at the bottom. You may have to scroll down or scroll your web page down. You'll see other. You can click on other or hit the little plus sign. Either one will open up the other menu, and you can see we have a lot more layers in there. Again, we'll go through some of these. We got some individual state layers here, but we also, this is a newer layer. It's protected areas of the U.S. And basically what they are is ownership, federal, state, and local ownership, or easements, ownership through easements, or designated areas such as a monument or things of that nature. You can turn those individual layers on, And we'll be adding a little more detail to these, like color coding and stuff based on who owns the land, such as Bureau Land Management, Fish and Wildlife, things of that nature at a later date. Under the H2O menu is some important information. First is river and streams, which I have turned on here. I think the default is off. So if you want rivers and streams turned on, you can do that here. And then they will label the major rivers and streams will label. You can see water bodies. You can also display wetlands. I don't see, yep, there's a wetland right here. Watershed and FEMA information. Now, a lot of FEMA information people don't access anymore, or water or wetlands, because we do have reports for those under when you select your properties. You can turn on your soils layer, but that's just the soil lines with the mu symbol for those soils. That's only information we would have on that. Of course, you have your major and minor roads. Major road like an interstate. Minor roads such as auxiliary roads. We have the hail layer. Won't explain this. We do have a webinar coming up, or have had a webinar that you can view that webinar on our YouTube channel, and explains our weather information, and hail layer is included. You also have the counties, township name, township range, section lines, so on and so forth. So those are your layers. Again, to turn on a layer, you would just check it. And if they are blue, they will have properties that you can look at and you can change, so including sometimes labeling. Okay, let's move on now to selection and drawing. First thing we're going to do some, we're going to select. Now the select box gives you the ability to select boundaries that already exist in a layer. Most commonly would be the FSA fields layer that you see in yellow. If you do own parcel, or if you had purchased a parcel access, you can also select the parcel layers, individual parcels, and create maps from them. So you could come in and select this parcel, and now you can create your maps or forms from that. So that's what select does. That allows you to select features from existing layers. If you're in Surety Pro, you could select from your borders layer or any of your form layers also. So you select by just clicking select and placing an X in your interested polygon. So you might have one, you could pick multiple. In this case, I picked 3. When I do the FSA report, you'll see those 3 lit, shown with the individual acres. If you do not want the FSA or another layer showing in the background, like in this case white, what I would do is come in after you've done your selection and you just turn those off. Oh, that's I'm sorry. I'm thinking of a different. Sorry, I'm thinking of a different tool here. Come in, go to Map Options, and you could turn off some of the. You could turn on. You could change. Excuse me. You can change in the Map Options now. Coloring, text size. You can display acres or not. So this is important. This is why we were mentioned before under options that you do not want to print directly a PDF. I would print to a web page. Now you have all these options right here. Okay, one of these options is print, save PDF, or print. But you can also email PDF here. You can just generate a PDF if you want. You can save it as a PDF directly from here. But you also can do other things. One thing you can do is you can add contour intervals directly on the map. And as we move forward with our system, you're going to start to see more tools appearing over on the right side to allow you to add information to your map here without having to turn it on your main map page. So that's how you can select multiple. To clear those, you can either remove all X's on the right or hit the little trash can. And those will remove all X's and unselect. Now, if you want to select some within an area, for example, here it's, you got a bunch of small ones. You can also, under the selection tool, left click, hold, and drag a box, and it will select all underneath that box. So if you want to select a whole bunch in an area, you can do that. Now, if you want to deselect without clearing out all your selections, just click right on the X, and it'll deselect those. So as you see, we're selecting the number under the trash can is going down. So that's your selection tool. Next, we're going to do the draw field tool. Okay, so I'm going to zoom to an area here. Let's just zoom. Let's get something. Let's go back to our some of these fields here. How about right in this area here? So I'm going to turn the FSA layer off here for now. You could leave that on as a guide if you wish. And I'm going to just draw out this area here in between the trees. Okay, so you hit the drawing tool. In by default, it will be in draw field. First thing I would do is come down, make sure these two things are checked. Okay, this will allow you to have help over here, kind of walk you through things. Again, as we mentioned before, another part of this panel here is the help panel. So as I select a tool, okay, it'll change over here. So I have drawing and I have draw field. You can select different tools with the radio button, excuse me, but we'll do draw field. So I have a draw field tool, okay. So it'll tell me what to do. Left click, start new field, okay. So I'll start my field, then it'll change. It says, add a node to this field. So the little red dots are what we call nodes. That's where there's a change in direction of my boundary. And you can come in, you can put as many as you want or few as you wish. Around corners, you might want to add more to get a little bit tighter. On straight areas, you can do less. Now, if I place a point and I go, oh, I'm messed up there, we have some tools you can work in. Right now, if you just hit the right, click the right mouse button, it'll delete the last point, and you can keep going back as many times as you want by hitting the right mouse button. You can start back over again. Now, I had mentioned that you can pan the map as you're drawing, and that can kind of get you closer to do a little better drawing in some cases if you want to. So you can zoom in to an area. You don't have to see the whole area that you're trying to draw out, and you can draw your field by, again, just left clicking. And then when it say, well, I'm getting to the end here, I need to move my map so I can continue drawing. Just move your mouse somewhere away from one of the red vertices or nodes, and then hold down the left mouse button. Just hold it down and drag your map. And you will let go and it'll redraw, and then you can continue on. Again, it's left click, hold, drag your map, and then continue on drawing. Okay. Also, if you have a scroll button on your mouse, you can zoom in and out as you're drawing. So keep that in mind. And then when you're done, you can either double click to draw a line between these two nodes, or you can click on your last node to close the boundary. And then once it's closed, it'll turn blue with the red nodes. You can see your field here. Now you can also edit now. If you're not happy with something, you want to change something, you can do some editing. Let's look at some editing here. One thing you can do is add a new node. What you do is just come right on the line. You see the blue dot show up there. Again, that's why please make sure that you have your snap on off checked. Come over here, you see, and wherever I place that left click, now I placed a new node. Okay, you see I placed a new node. Don't worry about the blue turning off. You're still editing now. So you can add a node. Second, you can delete nodes. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, come up to the node that you want to delete, left click and hold on it. Now, oh, sorry. Let me get one of these here. Okay, left click and hold on it. As you can see, I've grabbed a node. Now, if you left click and hold away from it, you're just going to pan. So, but what you want to do is put your mouse right on top. You see it turn blue. Left click and hold. Now you can grab that node and move it around and replace it. Just let go to replace it. Or you can delete. And one way you delete is you take that node and you drag it over another node. And once you get close enough, it absorbs. Now you see we've eliminated that node, and you can continue doing that. Again, I'm going to add a node by right-clicking, and I'm going to move this back up here. Okay, so now I have my field drawn here, and you can edit. So now you can go and create your maps, such as your FSA map, FSA map, so on, so forth. If you're in Surety Pro, if you want at this point, if you have a client selected, you can go and save your boundary and give it a farm name and a field ID. So that's drawing. Again, at the end, I'll show you places where you can go and see more detail on the drawing, or step-by-step on the drawing. Next, we're going to go and we're going to just look at one other drawing tool. We have some other tools. Again, you'll look through the wiki documentation and find them. But what we're going to do is look at the Smart Select tools. Before I forget, you can draw multiple polygons at one time. So let's say I drew this polygon here. Okay, and I want to draw another one over here. You just continue and go over here and click. And now when you do your FSA map, it's going to show both of those, okay? Also, if you have an area you want to draw, and this isn't a good example, but let's say I want to draw something out of the middle of you can come in, select your polygon, left click once, and then start drawing. And what you can do is, you notice here, when I click close that, I subtracted 0.018 acres from this total. Now if I come in and do my FSA map, not only is that area subtracted from the total acres, it's shown as an exclusion on the map. And if I did soils, it would punch that hole and not include that in the soils report, in some of the other reports. So you can have exclusions or draw multiple polygons to represent your property. Okay, the Smart Select tool. Let's back up. Let's turn on the FSA fields. Let's look at the Smart Select tool. Smart Select. When I do Smart Select, it allows me to pick an existing polygon and work with it. So I could pick this one here again, and now I can edit like I did before. I can move vertices. I can delete nodes, vertices, and now I can create FSA maps from those, or soils, or soil reports, or whatever reports you want to create from those. And they do not change the background of what you're looking at. In this case, when I turn the FSA fields off, your boundary is still there. And this is what I was talking about before. Now, when you do your FSA fields, you won't see those white lines all over. You'll just see your field. That's a Smart Select tool. That works on FSA maps or any boundary layer that you've created. And it's a good way to edit boundaries in Surety Pro if you have borders saved and they change, or you need to make a change to a border. Again, some of these other drawing tools, we'll show you how you can search those on our documentation, and they can walk you through those step by step. Okay, so we had talked about we have certain forms available here. Let me just select a field here and we'll work on it from there. So so I selected this 56.33 acre area here. So like I said, we have different forms. Some we call maps, some we call forms. Some of the forms you can enter information on. So we have the FSA map, some we call reports, and some we call maps, and some we call forms. Crop history is a report. It'll give you the crop history for example, in that field the last 4 years. We of course have the FSA map, which gives you, you do not have to have a selection to do an FSA map. Let me get rid of this X. So if this is, if I have whatever I have on my map page and I hit FSA map, that's what it's going to create on there. So you can create, without selecting a boundary, you can create FSA maps. Again, you can rename these up top if you're not familiar with that. You can change the title if you wish. That's the only one that you can do that, where you can show an area. The other is the hail history map, NDVI maps. You hit NDVI, you have several to choose from. Overview map, which eliminates the background. Parcel data map, if you have parcel data. And of course, the soil map is also located here. You can create your soil map here. Again, you can change these properties down here, what you want to display by the soil options key. We always default to the latest, but you can go back in history to some of the updates, which you can see I've done about once a year. We have topography contours map. This is a fairly newer one, and you can set your contour level here. And then of course we got the topography hillshade map, which shows you for that field of topography, and you can again adjust your contour level to these. And we have other ones. We have the old topography map. We got wetland, and then we start to get some of your forms also. The other one maybe if you are looking aerial, we have the drift watch report or the FAA obstruction report. Weather outlook is brand new, and mostly for our application production ag people. Excuse me. We have added weather to our system, and we're starting to put out forms to look at weather information for spraying, things of that nature. So we'll have a webinar. We had a webinar again on Tuesday for that. You can look up that webinar on our YouTube channel, or we have one coming up next Thursday, I believe. You can sign up for on our webinar page. So there's the maps. So let's look at some of the forms. So we also have forms. Forms allow you to add information. So let's look at chemical form here. This is the chemical form. We have drop-down boxes. We have date boxes. Some of this stuff is filled in based on what you have filled in your profiles, or if you're in Surety Pro, or your client farm field information. We have lists that you can create to add crops to. If you want to have crops, you can change acreages. We got other things available. In this case, you can build your chemical groups for this and enter rates and save those. We also have the chemical database we won't get into, but we do have the chemical database to build your products from. And for example, here's another example of a button we've added. It says get weather. So if you put your start in, you put your end time in, it'll automatically go and grab the weather for this field out of the archive and fill it in here on your form. With regard to forms, I just want to mention that you can have custom forms made. You can just contact us, or under let's see, where would that be? Under help, I believe, or only if you're admin. So if you need a form you would like created, go to your admin, or give us a call, or drop us an email at info@agridatainc.com. But you can request a form, so we can change what a form looks like, what it does for you. We have a lot of flexibility on that. We've created a lot of custom forms already for people for their systems to set it up kind of what they want to see, what they have. And because we don't have it listed here does not mean that we can't create one that does something for you that's different from any of the things we have here. Okay, with that was all. We went through all the basic tools within that. Again, if you have questions, contact myself or drop us an email at info@agridatainc.com, or give us a call at 701-746-8580. With that, I thank you for your time. This webinar was recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search for AgriData, and you'll see all our webinar videos, help videos, things of that nature are also available there. And I did forget one thing. I wanted to go through our support pages real quick here. So let's do that before I sign off. So under tools, or excuse me, on the help, there's something called support documentation. And you do see some help links here and there. And you saw under updates some links to these features. So you click support documentation, and it's also available on our main webpage under support. You come to this page. There's two places to enter data, one right here or right here. So if I want to look at draw pivot, okay, I could just type in pivot, for example. Hit the two little arrow buttons, or just hit your return enter button on your keyboard. Give it some time. It's going to search our whole documentation for information. And as you saw here, top one is pivot. If you click on that, it's going to give you not only a video to watch for draw pivot, but it also can walk you through step by step on all the tools and features within that. And then there's clicks to other areas within it, and things of that nature. So works kind of like Wikipedia if you've ever been on that. We kind of move around that way. So make sure you look that out. There's also access to tutorial videos, which is also available under help, under how-to videos. You just pick where you're at, click on the video, and it allows you to watch video. So I want to make sure people are aware of that, because there's a lot of information there. But we're always happy to take your calls and your emails. Let us know what you like, what you would like to see added to the system, or any changes we can make to make what you do, what you use our system for, make it more convenient and easier for you. With that, thank you for your time, and have a good day.